to Small and Mighty. This is the show where we interview local businesses that make a big impact in the community. Today we're sitting with Margaret Cortese. Hi, Margaret.
Hi, hello, Danny.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Margaret, she is the person running Teatro De Las Americas in Oxnard, California.
That's correct.
It's a local theater company, and she's just going to tell us some stuff about teatro. Margaret, first of all, I mean, we would like to hear a little bit more about yourself, more about your background.
Okay, I'll try to keep it short. I was born in San Antonio, Texas. My parentage is kind of interesting. On my mother's side, it's Mexican citizens from northern Mexico. And on my father's side, it was my grandmother was also from the same place as my maternal grandparents. But my father was had parents who were German and Italian. And the Italian came from Italy. And recently, about 3 years ago, I made a trip and I tracked down some of the Italian cousins, and that was great fun.
Nice, so you still have family over there?
Yes, although they're distant family. This is going back a long way. The immigration happened.
That's very interesting. Have you always been involved in theater, or did you?
No, not really. I did a little bit of theater in college, like many of us do. And then I worked as a teacher for a while, went back to school and became a psychologist and worked as a psychologist, mostly out here in Oxnard. I moved here in '78, and I practiced till about 2006. So the theater was more of a coincidence or a happenstance. I was at a Christmas party with Martha Garza. A lot of people know Martha. She used to teach at Oxnard College. And she says, "You want to be in a play?" And I said, "Sure." I was on my second glass of wine, so I was playing. And Dana Alcar, who was the director at Santa Paula Theater, one day decided that they should do a play in one night in Spanish and another night in English, because it's 70% Latino in Santa Paula. So he found a couple of people. One guy who was from Mexico, and he had worked as a director, and then a stage manager. The guy from Mexico was Armando Garcia, and the stage manager was Christina Ehrenlund, who, even though she has a Danish name, is from Mexico. And we staged Casa de Muñecas, the Spanish version of A Doll's House. Mm-hmm. And it went very well, and we had such great fun that we approached Dana and said, we have a great Mexican play. I think you'd really like this play. And we had gotten a translation into English that had been done in New York. And we sat in a circle and read it, and he didn't want to do it. So we, as we say in Spanish, nos pusimos los moños. And we got a little annoyed with him, and so we decided, well, we can do it ourselves. So Teatro De Las Americas was born that summer of 1992. And Christina had booked the Camarillo Theater. They have a theater at the old Camarillo Air Force Base. It belongs to the Camarillo Community Theater. Mm-hmm. And we booked it for a couple of slots. And we did a play called Rosa de dos Aromas, written by Emilio Carballido, who was the playwright laureate of Mexico, and an awfully wonderful person. And it went really well. And then we also did a classic by Garcia Lorca, Bodas de Sangre, Blood Wedding. And that was a huge cast, and it had all kinds of things in it. When we went back to book the Camarillo Theater for the next season, it had been totally booked out. We couldn't get in. So one of the people involved worked at Oxnard College, and she was able to get what back then was the classroom with a stage in it. And so we did a Spanish version of The Importance of Being Earnest. And we had great fun with that play.
Back then, when you were doing all these plays, what was your participation in it? Were you an actress back then?
I was an actress. I did the Nana in Bodas de Sangre, 6 lines. I mean, big deal. And then when we did La Importancia de Llamarse Ernesto, we placed it on a hacienda near Mexico City rather than a farm outside of London. We Mexicanized it.
That's interesting.
And I did the part that was in the English version, Lady Breckenridge. And I had great fun. I wore a bustle and the whole thing. The costuming was great. And I was a very imperious person. You do what I say, boom, boom, boom. And I carried a cane and I'd go, bum, bum, bum. What happened was that there used to be another theater in our area called, what was it called? It'll come to me in a minute. But Michael Minez, who was a wonderful theater person, an icon here in the county, he's been gone for several years. He was an older man. Invited us to go to Plaza Players, which was his theater in Ventura, and we staged a couple of plays there. We staged a Spanish play, something de Vallecas. It was about a tobacco shop.
So all these plays have been in Spanish, or you mix?
Our mission at that time was to primarily present plays originally written in Spanish. We were very motivated because we talked to a person when we were working with the Camarillo Playhouse who was a high-up person in the Oxnard Union High School District, which owned that building or had the title to it. And he says to us, oh, I didn't know they wrote plays in Mexico. I mean, I just got ignorance. So, no, and that's true. The plays originally written in Latin America and in Spain are mostly not known. People know about Garcia Lorca, but other than Garcia Lorca, most people don't know anything about theater. And we did it in Spanish because we really prize the beauty of the language, and it's always great when you can do something in the language it was originally written in.
Right. No, yeah.
So that's how we got started. And our mission statement at that time was to present plays in Spanish with English translations. And in the early, so the next place we landed was Christina was very good friends with Judy Heiliger, who at that time was the artistic director of the Elite Theater Company, which was over there where you are now. In that building, there's a McGrath House. Underneath, there's a basement, and that was a theater. And we were in there for about 5-6 years.
So that was around what time, what years?
Oh my gosh. In the early 2000s, the late 1990s, early 2000s. And then we couldn't, they got a new guy that ran it, and he kind of pushed us out. He didn't want us there. So then we wandered, or we bought a trailer, and at that time I owned a van, and we would load the trailer with the set and everything, and we'd go to different places and take our plays to Bell Arts Factory in Ventura, and to some community center in that town that's on the way up to Ojai. I can't think of the name. One of those towns.
Is it Fillmore?
No. We went to Fillmore. We went to Santa Paula. We went to Ventura. We even went to Thousand Oaks at Cal Lutheran.
So you've been all around.
We were all around and here driving this trailer full of. And then what happened is about 6 years ago, Richard Duran, who was the president of Oxnard College, approached us and said, we want you to be our resident theater. We have this beautiful performing arts building. We don't have a drama department. And would you consider coming in? And boy, we loved it, because that Black Box Theater at Oxnard College is one sweet place.
Right, I've been there a couple of times. It's really nice. What would you describe? I mean, I imagine it's a big difference being a resident theater and just being all around the place, but I imagine it also comes with some, I don't know, extra workload. Like, which one have you enjoyed most?
Well, I really enjoy, and there was a little period of time before we went to Oxnard College when we rented and outfitted a place in what was known as the Wagon Wheel before it, and a friend of ours told us that they were renting relatively cheap because it was slated to be torn down and have housing on it. But we were there for a couple of years. I think I enjoyed that place the most because it was totally ours for the first time. We had our own place. It was pretty big, and we did a bunch of plays. You were there, Rafaela was in one of our plays, and it was wonderful. Just really good stuff. And so I enjoyed that. It had been a dance school, but we had to eventually leave, and that's when Oxnard College invited us to go there. There was a change in the administration, and they didn't know that theater can be messy, and they were upset with us because we'd leave the place a mess. But theater is messy. You have all your props stacked someplace, and whatever.
Did you work with the students back then, or
we worked with students? We actually gave students a break on the tickets. I think we sold them for $5 to students, and then contribute some of it back to the Association of Student Governments. So we had, in fact, we had one guy who was an assistant director, and he was, I don't know whether he went on in theater as a career. That was the first place where we did a play in English, translation into English of a play written in Spanish from the golden age of Spanish theater.
Which one was?
It was, what was it? El Mentiroso. It's this guy who, it's like the 1700s, and I can't think of the name of it, but it'll come to me. And it's this guy who's just come back from university, and he's a big fat liar. And he's lying to the girls and everybody. He gets into a lot of trouble. And it was a big cast, and it just went really well.
And did you cast people from Oxnard College?
From Oxnard College, and then we announce a casting call, so people that have an interest in being on stage come on stage with us. But that was the first time we did it in English and projected Spanish supertitles.
Right. You said that in the beginning, Teatro De Las Americas' vision was to produce plays originally written in Spanish. And around this time, you changed and you were actually doing a play, written in Spanish, but now it was produced in English.
The vision got expanded a little bit about 6 years ago. What you do is, as an organization, is you do what's called strategic planning. And you pretty much set aside a day to ask, how are we doing? What are we doing? What do we want to do? And usually the mission statement gets changed at that strategic planning. And I think that the board kind of opened it up to do a little bit more English. The original vision was to really attract audience from the three groups that are part of the Oxnard community. The Spanish monolingual community, most of whom are first generation, have immigrated here. Some of them work for, the Berry Company where you work. The second is people like ourselves that are second and third generation. Many of us are still bilingual. And then the third group that we wanted to attract were what I would call English monolinguals, and that's why we project translations.
Has it been challenging attracting these different groups of people?
Yes, it has. What I find with the Spanish monolinguals, especially those who are very low socioeconomic, that it's hard to get them to come in. They're so tired, I guess, after their work or whatever. We've had a few. We have some that are very enthusiastic about us. We had an actor who has moved away since. Jesus, what was Jesus' last name? My memory is starting to go, which is why I can't be on stage anymore. Jesus Ochoa, he worked at a farm. He was a farm worker, but he loved theater, and he was on stage with us several times. We did a play written in Chile based on a book by Mario Benedetti, who was Uruguayan. And he played the father. That play we did it at Pettit Playhouse.
The Pettit House, right.
And I'm trying to think of the name. It'll come to me in a minute. But the theme of it had to do with the repression in Uruguay and Argentina in the early 70s, when a lot of the young people who were socialists at heart got grabbed and put in jail.
Right.
And there was like a civil war going on. And Jesus really rose to the occasion. He was the father of a fellow who was imprisoned because of, his involvement with the younger people. Socialists, I guess you could call them. Anyway,
for sure.
It was a great play, and we created on stage left a prison cell. And I knew a guy who did ironwork. And he built this prison cell for us, and there it was. And I had a friend at that time who was Uruguayan and had lived through that. And she said to me, your play was wonderful. There was only one problem with it. Your prisoner in jail was not skinny enough. He shouldn't be looked like he was starving.
Oh my God, that's just true.
And that was Armando Ray, whom you probably know. Armando was, he's always been nicely built. And there was in his chonies on stage and not looking authentic, but very well.
It seems like teatro has really evolved a lot since it opened its doors back in 1992. So what are some of the services or, I guess, products, or what does teatro offer? Is it only plays? Do you guys have workshops? How do you approach the community to?
Well, we have done various things. I think one of the first things that was like a workshop is that we did a children's theater. And children were invited to come and spend several weeks with us creating or being on stage. And we would do a children's theater that had been written in Spanish originally. And I became very good friends with people in Mexico City. I go there frequently anyway because I have family. And I met, some playwrights there. And we did some really good work. And again, Rafaela, who was, I think, 15 at the time when you did Los Tres Cochinitos or Los Tres Otros Cochinitos or what. Anyway, we had a lot of fun. So that's one kind of workshop we have done several times over the years. Another, more recently, we have begun a series of workshops, acting workshops, that we have, we're very lucky that we have a couple of professional people who are part of our group now. James Donlin, who is actually speaks Spanish pretty well. He's made it a point to learn, and he's toured in Spain in Mexico. And they are teaching some workshops now. One is an acting workshop, and then Alina Señal, who teaches children, is doing a children's acting workshop via Zoom. And then we're doing once a month interviews with people who have been successful professional actors.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, including my nephew in October. He is Carlos Ferro, and he does telenovelas out of Televisa in Mexico City.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so those are the things that we're trying to cope with this pandemic.
The pandemic.
Yeah,
Right.
and so we're filming right now a play that will be made available through Zoom or some kind of, I'm not sure yet, YouTube or something.
Right. So you guys are staying busy even with the whole pandemic going on.
Oh, it's been rough on performing arts.
Yeah.
And a lot of theaters are finding different ways of coping with this. I mean, I get emails from different theaters that I've been a part of or that I've been to and how they're trying to cope with not being able to be on stage.
Has this really been biggest challenge that you've had to face during this whole time at teatro?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's been a big one of the biggest. Being homeless was also a very big challenge over the years. Although there's a tradition of being a homeless theater, you're a street theater. So
yeah, but I can imagine it's hard to find location.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So one of our plans is to do our next play outdoors in the parking lot here.
Oh, that would be cool.
That'll be awesome, and then use social distancing for the audience. So we're looking at doing that, maybe October, November.
Maybe some Halloween stuff. Dia de
I'm
Muertos.
not sure what we're going to do.
Oh, okay, you don't want to.
Although I have made it my own little tradition to try to do a play about death every year at the end of October, the beginning of November. And we've done some awesome plays that we had one where Juliana was death. And what was the name of that play? Adán, Eva y la otra. Adán and Eva were a young married couple, and la otra was death, who's trying to take Adán away, but she won't do it until he falls in love with her. It was a great play.
Maybe you guys can do it again.
Maybe we can. I've had some. It's funny about that play. I became very good friends with Norma Roman Calvo, who has passed on. but we did several of her plays. In fact, I got teased, and I said, are you going to change the name of the theater to Teatro Roman Calvo? We've done a bunch of her plays. Anyway, I was in a cab in Mexico City, and I had her on one side and her friend Dante de Castillo on the other side. And he slips me a little file folder. He says, read this, maybe you'll like it. And that's what it was, Adán y la otra.
That's cool. It's funny how something things just happen, right? I mean, it's just a coincidence they just fall in the right place, right time, I guess.
Yeah, it's created a lovely social circle for me, although a lot of the people I have never met. In the early days, when things were a little cheaper, we would bring the playwright to spend a weekend with us.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool. Well, I guess right now it's just more expensive, and
Yeah,
there's much.
we haven't done that for several years.
Services. What is it that you like about theater? What makes you passionate about it?
I think it's the beauty of it. You know, as audience, I have been at every play Teatro has done except one, when my mother died. No, my mother, one of my parents died, and I was away. When my mother died, I was gone for about 3 or 4 weeks. So I didn't get to very much of that, but it's the beauty of it, you know, and I never get tired of hearing a play over and over and over. Sometimes because I'm backstage, I hear it, and other times I'm where I can see it, but it's the beauty.
Is there a part that you enjoy the most, maybe being backstage or as an actress or running the theater company now?
I guess I have enjoyed most running the theater company.
Yeah.
I even tried my hand at directing once or twice, but I don't have that talent. But I couldn't find somebody else to do it, so I wound up. We did a play about Don Quixote de la Mancha.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's interesting. The biggest frustration, and it's not just for us, it's for all theaters, is getting audience to come to attend. And when we were at Pettit Playhouse, we were doing Don Quixote de la Mancha. And one day, 2 people showed up, a mother and a child. You know, the play went on. And for that child, it was the exposure to Cervantes. That, you know, that was Norma's. She had written that play. That was her whole point, to make El Quixote available to children. And so it was great. You know, I have a lot of soft spots for many of the plays.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys have made a lot.
We did an awesome play again when we were still downstairs at Heritage Square. And Octubre pasó hace mucho tiempo, I think was the name of it. And it commemorated the matanza at Tlatelolco,
Mm-hmm.
the butchering that happened there.
Right.
And it was a 2-person play. And it ended with, it was a couple. He was like one of those eternal students, and she was a rich girl, and they were living together, much to her parents' distress. And he comes home, and he says, I got the film. And we started showing the film, what happened. And I always cry when I think of it. We did this about 20 years ago. I think we either did it in 08 or 98. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it was very touching.
Yeah.
And the audience was weeping at the end of the play. And then they would applaud, you know. But that was an awesome play. We've done a lot of really awesome plays. My own goal was to do at least one play from every Spanish language country in the world. I don't think we've gotten there yet.
About how many plays have you made?
About 50 in the last 20 years. Yeah. First was twice a year, and then we gradually moved it to 4 times a year.
Is that what you're currently at for a year? Obviously,
Well,
the pandemic.
we were 4 times a year, like when we were at the college. Now, when here in our own space, which I'm very happy about, we're going to do another strategic planning session pretty soon, because we need to revisit the vision plan, the mission plan. And we've gotten a lot of new people who have brought so much to us. Holly, who just walked in, is our light specialist. She's wonderful.
Yeah, so I mean, I see we've been here in the new place like once or twice. It's really cool. What do you guys have coming up?
Well, we're going to start with an outdoor presentation because of the COVID again. Jimmy El Payaso Histórico de Oxnard. It's an original 1-person play written by James Donlan. So, and beyond that, I think that'll be in October, November. And then, I don't know when we can start performing again. We could probably keep performing outdoors, but that's hard, in the winter. It's cold, it might rain, all kinds of problems.
Yeah, windy.
Yeah.
And the plays, when do you think it's going to be open for, after pandemic and everything, fully equipped, fully running?
Yes. And the thing about this building is that the occupancy is 49 people. So if we have a play with 2 actors and 2 crew, we can only seat 45 people. I'm looking forward to the day. I said, I'm so sorry, Danny, we're sold out. I can't get you in. How about tomorrow night?
I don't get extra tickets or anything, Margaret? It's
No,
not part of the deal?
No, part of the deal is we have to obey the city's occupancy.
And then do you guys, during this strategic session, you guys are planning for the next season, next year, or that's still not on the plan?
Well, I think we're going to start talking about it very soon. Yeah. What we're doing right now is virtual theater, and the planning for that has been taken over by a committee of our people who are right now, for instance, filming Palabras de un Padre Cubano. And we will make that available through YouTube, or I'm not quite sure how other theaters are doing it. I don't know all the means for putting something out. But, and then after that, we'll be working on Payaso, which I'm hoping we will do outside.
That would be awesome. Well, Margaret, just for the people out there who are not really so involved with theater, myself included, I kind of got into this world completely an accident, I think. Can you give some advice to people? How can they get involved? How can they contact you maybe? You have so many shows coming up, so they
Well,
can audition.
probably the easiest way to contact us is to go to the website, teatrodelasAmericas.org. And there's a place on the last page where you can click in and say, add me to your list. Because we put the word out through e-blasts.
Right, okay.
And so we put an ad in the paper and all that kind of thing. We try to do the usual stuff that theaters do to make people know that we're here and we're doing this play.
Right, and short term, is there any kind of workshop or something that people can go into right now and join? Like maybe some of those virtual workshops or those meetings with the successful artists? Is that something that they can just go in and join?
Yes. I think the best thing to do is to get yourself on our e-blast list.
Got it.
And we did put an ad in El Periódico Vida. And so, for example, we're going to be interviewing Carlos Lopez, who is a U.S. Latino actor. He did The Baker and something, I forget what it was. And he's going to be interviewed next week. And so you send me an email. You pre-register by sending an email to info@Teatro De Las Americas, and then we send you the Zoom link. No cost.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your
I'm
time,
delighted
Margaret.
to do this.
Really glad you could give us your time for this interview.
And I'm glad that the theater bug has bitten you, Danny.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But thank you again for your time.
I'm happy to do it.